She wasn't supposed to open the door like that, hair still wet, robe slightly undone, eyes meeting mine as if she already knew what I'd been thinking. I froze, stupidly holding the Tupperware her son forgot in my hand like it meant something. Like I had a reason to be there other than her. "Hey," I said, voice cracking just a little. "Leftovers." Her name was Lena, but I never said it out loud much. Not around him. Not with the way it felt when it left my mouth, soft, like I was already too familiar. Too far in. She smiled politely, tilting her head. "You came all the way here for this?" Her tone wasn't skeptical. Just knowing. She always had this way of seeing through people, past the excuses they wrapped around themselves. Made you feel naked, even when you weren't. I shifted my feet. "Yeah. I mean, I was in the area." Lie. I wasn't. But I needed to see her again, even if it was just the hallway, just 2 minutes. Lately, I'd been finding excuses that even I didn't believe. She stepped aside. "You want to come in for a sec?" There was hesitation in her voice, the kind that lives somewhere between yes and don't. The kind that hoped I'd say no, but feared I would. I stepped inside. The house was quiet. Same candles burning on the side table, same folded throw blanket that never moved from the back of the couch. Everything felt still, but charged. Like we both knew this wasn't normal anymore, and maybe it hadn't been for a while. I sat on the edge of the couch. She poured tea. 2 cups, even though I hadn't asked. That's what she always did. "You okay?" she asked, handing me the mug. I looked up. Her eyes weren't guarded. Just tired, but kind. The kind that made you want to stay, even if you knew you shouldn't. "I don't know," I admitted. "Lately, I feel like I'm just drifting. Like I'm trying to hold on to something but I don't know what it is." She didn't answer right away. Just sipped her tea, staring at the far wall like it had secrets written on it. "You're young," she finally said. "It's okay not to know yet." There was a pause. "You always say that like it's a cure," I replied. "But I don't think it is. I think I'm starting to know, and it scares me more." She turned her head slowly, meeting my eyes. Something flickered there, guilt maybe. Or understanding. Or both. "You shouldn't say things like that," she whispered, voice tight. "Why not?" I asked. "Because I mean them?" Her hands wrapped around the mug tighter. She wouldn't look at me now. "Because once you cross that line," she said, barely above a breath, "you don't get to go back." The words sat between us, heavy and real. I didn't move. Neither did she. Just the sound of a clock ticking on the mantel, and somewhere in the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator. I wanted to say something. Anything. But the moment was fragile. And the space between us was too full. Then the doorbell rang. She flinched. I looked at her. Her eyes were wide now. And she mouthed, "Don't say a word." The doorbell echoed like it didn't belong there. Lena moved fast, adjusting the tie of her robe and smoothing her hair. She gave me a quick glance, not angry, not cold, just distant, like a curtain had dropped between us again. "I'll be right back," she said softly. I nodded, gripping the mug tighter than necessary, pretending like the warmth still meant something. From the couch, I could hear murmured voices at the door. A man's voice, older. Laughing. Familiar. Her ex-husband. I'd met him once. He'd come to pick up something for their daughter, the one who went to college across the country. Lena didn't talk about him much, but you could tell there was history that never got cleaned up properly. The voices faded, door closed. She didn't come back right away. When she did, she looked different. Like she'd stuffed something away behind her smile. Sorry, she said. He just needed to drop off some paperwork. I nodded. I didn't ask more. But my stomach was twisted. Not with jealousy, not exactly. Just something heavier, harder to name. Maybe the feeling of being temporary in someone else's permanent world. I should go, I said, standing. You don't have to. Her voice stopped me mid-motion. I mean, unless you want to. She wouldn't look at me again. I sat back down slowly. I don't want to. But I think maybe I should. A pause. Then she said, Do you remember the first time you came here? You were what, 18? 19, I said. Your son had just broken up with his girlfriend. We ordered pizza and played FIFA all night. She smiled faintly. I remember walking in on you two laughing so loud the walls shook. I thought, God, I hope they never lose that. Her voice caught on the last word. What did you lose? I asked, surprising even myself. She exhaled. Not like a sigh, more like she'd been holding her breath for too long. I lost the version of me that used to laugh that way, she said quietly. The one who believed she was still allowed to want things. My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't. Instead, I reached for her hand, not boldly, not even entirely on purpose. Just a soft, clumsy brush of fingers against hers on the couch cushion. She didn't pull away. She didn't look at me, either. But her pinky curled slightly, touching mine, like a thread tying us together in a room full of silence. And for the first time since I stepped through that door, I didn't feel like I was trespassing. Her pinky was still touching mine when the front door creaked open. Mom? It was Ryan, her son. My best friend. We both flinched like we'd been caught doing something we couldn't even name. Her hand snapped back to her lap. I shifted, pretending I'd been looking at my phone the whole time. In here, she called out, voice steady, too steady. Ryan appeared in the doorway a second later, wearing his old hoodie and looking confused. What are you still doing here? He asked me. Just dropped off your container, I said, trying not to sound out of breath. He looked between us. Something flickered in his eyes, but he didn't push it. Well, cool. I was about to go meet Jess. You wanna come? I shook my head. Nah, I'm good. He grabbed his keys off the counter. Later, then. The door slammed behind him. We sat in silence. You could hear the clock again. And the rain, it had started while we weren't paying attention, tapping softly against the windows. Lena stood up, crossed her arms. She looked like she was trying to build a wall with just her posture. That can't happen again, she said. I didn't do anything. She turned to me, eyes sharp. But you were going to. I swallowed. So were you. That made her stop. A breath. Then two. I'm twice your age, she said quietly. You don't understand what that means. I do, I said, rising to my feet. It means I think about you more than I should. It means I walk into this house and forget why I came. It means I feel sick when I see him call you Mom, and all I can think about is what it felt like when your hand touched mine. She shook her head, backing away like the words were heat and she'd gotten too close. You're not in love, she said. You're just lonely. Confused. Yum. Maybe, I said. But that doesn't mean it's not real. I stepped closer slowly, not to touch her. Just to close the space between us. She didn't move. Her breath caught. Her eyes didn't blink. I leaned in, only slightly. Enough to blur the boundary of what was okay. Her voice broke the moment. If you kiss me, she whispered, you'll never be just my son's friend again. I hesitated, lips inches away. But I didn't move. Neither did she. The front door slammed again. Ryan's voice rang out. Hey! Forgot my wallet. We both jumped. She stepped away. I turned fast, heart pounding. He walked past the living room, oblivious, and then gone again. The moment had shattered. But the feeling hadn't. I didn't go home that night. Not physically, maybe, but mentally I left the moment she said, "You'll never be just my son's friend again." That line haunted me. For 3 days I avoided her house. I ignored Ryan's texts. I threw myself into anything that felt normal: gym, games, noise. But everything just made the silence louder. By the 4th day I cracked. It was late, 10:34 p.m. I hadn't even thought it through when I found myself on her street again. No excuse this time. No container to return. Just something inside me refusing to stay buried. I stood outside her door, fist hovering. The light was on in the living room. Curtains half drawn. I could see her silhouette moving slowly, deliberately, like someone trying not to feel watched. I knocked once. The door opened faster than I expected. Lena looked exhausted. Hair messy, no makeup, wrapped in a soft cardigan. And still, she was the most put-together person I'd seen in days. Her expression dropped when she saw me. "I can't do this," she said, no greeting, no hesitation. "I've been trying to be smart. But I don't feel smart anymore." "I don't either," I said. She stepped aside. I walked in. This time, she didn't offer tea. She leaned against the counter like she needed it to stand upright. "Ryan keeps asking where you are." I nodded. "I know. He'll figure it out." "Probably." She looked up then, eyes glassy but sharp. "Do you even know what you're doing?" "No," I admitted. "But I know how it feels when I'm not here. And I hate it." Her voice cracked. "This wasn't supposed to happen." "I know. I wasn't supposed to want this." I walked toward her slowly. "Do you?" She didn't answer. But her breath hitched, and that was all I needed. "I don't care how old you are," I said. "I don't care if it's wrong or reckless. I only care about the way I feel when I'm near you. And it's not going away." She looked at me like she was torn between running and falling. "You're not a boy anymore," she whispered. "And that scares me." "Why?" "Because I don't have the strength to pretend I don't see you anymore." The air between us was thick now, heavy with everything we tried to bury. "I think I need to leave," she said, voice trembling. "Then tell me to go," I challenged. She stared at me. Silent. Breathing shallow. "Tell me to go, Lena." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. I took one step forward. She didn't move. My hand reached up, fingers brushing her cheek, slow, tentative. She closed her eyes. Then her phone buzzed. She flinched and pulled away like she'd been burned. I looked down. A name on the screen, Ryan. The phone stopped buzzing. But something had already shifted. Lena pulled away, stepping back like the floor beneath her had cracked open. "I need you to go," she said. "Lena, no," she cut in, voice firmer now, but her hands were shaking. "This is already too much." I opened my mouth, but the words wouldn't come. Maybe because I knew she wasn't wrong. Maybe because I saw it in her eyes, fear wasn't the only thing there anymore. It was regret. I left. I don't remember the walk home. Just the feeling, like I'd been peeled open and left out in the cold. The next morning, Ryan showed up at my apartment. Unannounced. I hadn't seen him in days. He looked tired. Nervous. His hands stuffed deep in his hoodie pockets. "You busy?" he asked. I shook my head. What's going on? He stepped in, pacing. You remember that night you dropped off the container? When I came back for my wallet? Yeah. He looked up, something raw in his face. I overheard you, he said. Not all of it, just enough. My stomach dropped. You didn't say anything, I murmured. I didn't want to believe it, he replied. I thought maybe I misunderstood. But then you disappeared. She's been weird. And now I don't know what the hell is happening. I sat down, unable to meet his eyes. I didn't plan it, I said quietly. It wasn't supposed to happen. I tried to fight it. We both did. You and my mom, he said, voice cracking. You tried? I winced. He backed away, laughing, not like something was funny, but like his chest needed to make noise or it would implode. Do you love her? He asked suddenly. I looked up. I don't know what to call it. But it's real. His face twisted, like he didn't know whether to cry or punch me. I told her I was moving out, he said after a beat. A couple weeks ago. I got into a grad program in Portland. I didn't want to tell anyone yet. Thought I'd surprise her. My breath caught. He looked at me then, eyes red but clear. She didn't tell you, did she? I shook my head. She lied to you, man? I didn't know what hurt more, that she hadn't told me, or that she'd known she wouldn't have to. That I'd still come crawling back. You should figure out what this really is, he said, turning toward the door. Before someone crosses a line that can't be uncrossed. He left without another word. And for the first time since this started, I didn't feel like the one chasing something forbidden. I felt like I'd already been caught in it. It rained again that night. I sat in my car across the street from her house, watching the windows glow gold through the blur of water on glass. Everything felt smaller now, the street, the house, even the ache inside me. I wasn't sure why I came. Maybe I wanted to fight. Maybe I wanted to forgive. But mostly, I needed her to look me in the eye and not pretend anymore. I didn't knock this time. I texted, I'm outside. The porch light flicked on a minute later. Then the door opened. She stepped out barefoot, cardigan tight around her shoulders, rain catching in her hair. I got out of the car slowly. My heart was hammering, but my hands were steady. We stood in the middle of the walk, inches from each other, soaked in silence and rain. You knew he was leaving, I said. And you didn't tell me. Her eyes flicked away, guilty. It wasn't my place. That's not why. You thought if he left, this would get easier. She looked down, her voice barely audible. I didn't want to make you choose. I already did. A long pause. I'm not a kid, Lena. I never said you were. But you treated me like one. Like I didn't know what I felt. Like it wasn't real. She blinked. Rain or tears, I couldn't tell anymore. Because it was real, she said. That's what scared me. My chest tightened. You made me feel seen again, she whispered. And that terrified me. Because I stopped allowing myself to be seen a long time ago. I stepped forward, my hand finding hers, not gripping, just holding. Gentle. Present. You're allowed, I said. She closed her eyes, shaking her head. Ryan will never forgive us. I know. And this doesn't get easier. I know that too. She looked at me then, really looked. Everything in her eyes cracked wide open. I still think we're a mistake, she said, voice trembling. But I also think I'd regret walking away from this more than I've ever regretted anything. So then what? I asked. A pause. Then she leaned in, just enough to rest her forehead against mine. We crossed the line, she whispered. Together. The rain kept falling around us, soft and constant. Cars passed down the street unaware. Her hand stayed in mine. We didn't kiss. Not yet. But in that moment, something deeper passed between us, not lust, not impulse. Just truth. Flawed, terrifying, beautiful truth. And whatever came next, we'd already chosen it. 2 weeks later, Ryan left for Portland. We didn't say much at the airport. A few hugs, one long look that said everything we couldn't. He didn't bring up his mom. I didn't try to explain. Maybe we both knew there were no words for the kind of betrayal that grows quietly, not from lies, but from something more complicated, want. Lena didn't come to the airport. She waited at home, pacing the living room like the goodbye was hers to carry too. When I returned, she opened the door like she'd been holding her breath the whole time. "Is he okay?" she asked. I nodded. "I think he will be. Eventually." She didn't smile. But she stepped aside, letting me in, not just into the house, but into something that now belonged to both of us. We didn't fall into some picture-perfect relationship overnight. It wasn't simple, and we didn't pretend it was. Some days she pulled away, quiet, distant, unsure if she was doing the right thing. Other days I was the one who hesitated, wondering if love built on risk could ever really last. But still we stayed. Little by little, we let each other in. There were no labels. No public declarations. Just real moments. We cooked together. She showed me her favorite old films. I taught her how to shoot pool in a noisy downtown bar. She laughed until she cried when I lost, badly, and spilled soda all over her scarf. Sometimes we still talked about Ryan. Sometimes we didn't. That wound didn't close fast, but it didn't fester either. The truth sat between us every day. And instead of avoiding it, we made room for it. One night, a few months in, we sat on the back porch watching the sky turn orange behind the trees. I glanced at her, the way she tucked her legs under the blanket, the curve of her smile when she wasn't trying to hide it. "I never thought I'd be here," I said. She looked at me. "Do you regret it?" I didn't answer right away. Then I reached out and tucked her hand into mine, that same quiet gesture from so many weeks ago. A thread that had never really broken. "Not once," I said. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We sat like that, in the silence of our not-so-perfect story, one built on mistiming, crossed lines, and the kind of connection that refuses to be ignored. And even if the world never understood it, we did. And maybe that was enough. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Let me know in the comments. Maybe the next one starts with a line you'd never expect.